And that's kind of, it'll kind of lead well into this football conversation because that's kind of what you're hoping to see from the football program this season. Because to me, one of the biggest things that creates the buy-in for this LSU baseball team is they're all here to win a championship. Like the guys that transferred in, the freshmen that opted out of being drafted, like they came here obviously to play at LSU, but they came here to win a championship. And LSU baseball has been able to use these transfers and have them mixed in and mesh with the team and become a unit in the chemistry that they have. That can't be easy when you add that many pieces, but LSU's been able to make it happen. And football is in a very similar situation where they've added all these pieces. And you heard Brian Kelly talk about it on Saturday where he wants a 55% incumbent rate. Like he wants 55% of his roster to be guys that were on the team last year. And so they were able to keep 55% and add 16 or so transfers as well as the freshman class. This is a huge spring for LSU football because they're going through the meshing, the chemistry aspect of what baseball was able to do to be where they're at now. Football is starting that currently in spring practice. And if LSU football is able to grow that chemistry and that bond, the way they'll do that is the buy-in of why are we all here? And it's to win a championship because this is the season. This is the time. Some of the video that's been put out by LSU of the mic'd up, like I think they put out a Jack Pyburn mic'd up the other day, which was awesome. Barry and Brown before was pretty cool. And you can just see, they're building this bond with the guy. I mean, that's a Jack Pyburn, I think it was about a 2-minute clip of him mic'd up at practice. And you can see, him and Whit Weeks standing there talking to each other. He's bonding with his coaches. Like you can see kind of the mesh aspect of building this chemistry and these relationships kind of beginning now for LSU football. And that's why this is such a big period of time. You saw the video of DJ Pickett getting an interception in practice, which is just, talk about getting the fan base fired up. LSU knew exactly what they were doing putting that clip out because
and they're not afraid to promote him.
No, because he's going to be a player. You can see Harlan Berry running with the threes, which I know we're not going to play into the 1s, 2s, and 3s. Harlan Berry getting this much run, this much time early on in spring practice is huge for what it's going to look like in August and in September because he's getting the reps that he's needed. Now, I think Brian Kelly talked about bulking him up. He called it a shield of armor, like adding his shield of armor. That's obviously going to be a huge aspect of just getting him a little more mass on his body just so he can be ready to push through the season.
Because let's be real, he was playing 1A football.
Right.
Like, so the SEC is a little bit of a different beast, and then you see like JT Lindsey, and he's a little bit more built physically. But right. Harlan Berry, I have no
at all.
At all. He could put on his coat of armor or not. I'm good with exactly how he looks right now. You can just see it. And the way that they're going to use him and Barry and Brown being where is this fastest player in the country?
Yeah.
What happened?
I guess they've tracked speed or something, but he has been
Chris
dubbed.
Hilton have anything to say about this?
He's been dubbed fastest player in the country.
So I get, what was it, like in-game speed? Like
Maybe.
catapulted him?
I would assume.
But he looks better than I thought.
Yeah. Player.
Like
they have added
players.
Like when you look at the I'm just from a transfer perspective, when you look at the pieces they added, they are all like Jamari Butler and Jack Pyburn and Patrick Payton, the 3 edge rusher transfers, are all physically imposing. Like you look at the videos, the clips of them on the field, like they just look different. Like Jamari Butler's probably part of that all off the bus team. Like he is built. And then to Marcus Cooley, Mansour Delane, like they've added some really good pieces, and it'll be nice to see this kind of meshing and putting them all together to make the right unit out on the field because you can kind of see the vision when you look at them out there at spring practice. Obviously, I'm not going to pump sunshine and say that this team, from what I've seen at spring practice and the videos that I've looked at, they're going to win the national championship. No, but I know that's their goal.
You have Brian Kelly talking about the goal.
Yeah.
Like of this bringing this team together, and it is in an NIL era.
Right.
Like you have to have a certain mindset as to why you picked LSU and why you came here, and it's to win a championship. We talked about it with baseball. Like they're still building it differently because it's baseball.
Right.
Like it's not the same. Like where am I kind of island hopping to be able to get to so I can win? Like you don't see as much in the transfer portal, or it's not as publicized, I should say. Like because it does happen, but for LSU football, this is as frequently as they've ever been in the portal. Like how much they're trying. Like it's become a thing. And you saw the story drop over the weekend from Ross Dellinger, where LSU has a billionaire that is funding your. Like they found one. We were talking about go get money from the Saudi Arabians. Like go get whatever's over there, oil money. There's some guy that didn't even go to LSU because he was too smart.
Let's go.
And he went. He grew up here and is a fervent LSU football fan. And the one quote that came from it that I saw was like, I don't know who made the call. It said anonymous, but hey, can you help? And you're seeing that bear fruit now for at least what this roster's been put together. And you see Brian Kelly talk about the people that they have now in the building.
And these guys are they're here to win a championship. I mean, you go out there today, I don't know, you guys are at practice, right? I mean, you don't hear a bunch of talking. I mean, it is business. I mean, they are here to win a championship, and they take their craft serious. They go to work, and it's fun. And these guys are they're here to win a championship. I mean, you go out there today, I don't know, you guys are at practice, right? I mean, you don't hear a bunch of talking. I mean, it is business. I mean, they are here to win a championship, and they take their craft serious. They go to work, and it's fun.
Yeah, no, I mean, they all are here for one goal. And that is to win a national championship, and that's what the fans obviously want. I mean, that is the goal of LSU football, is to be a national championship contender.
Oh,
and this is the season. What do you have for me?
I just read LSU Tigers on SI. This came across 2 days ago. I just didn't see it. Jordan Gilbert missed the entirety of spring camp, off-season shoulder surgery. Sorry, boys, I didn't know that happened. Yep. I'm just reading it now as I do a hashtag LSU search. But yeah, you can see Brian Kelly, and not only is it for the players. This is his money season too. Like he has a ton to like the expectations are firmly on his shoulders.
100%.
Where he has to bear like now I've said this time and time again. Like you're out of excuses. You're able to now you have your $1 million match. You put your own money up.
Right.
Then you have a billionaire that is now fronting a roster that is like you paid I think what. $3 million, $13 million, it was one of those. But you paid more combined this year than you paid in your first 3 years when NIL was the thing. And so, like, it's literally, like, put up or –
yeah.
I'm so angry.
Yeah, no, I mean, that the banging the fist is not going to be the same. You know, this is a big season. And you can kind of hear it. You can kind of hear it when he's speaking. Like, the buy-in is kind of different on his – like, to me, that press conference on Saturday was such a good one. Like, even just him talking about the spring game change, you can see, like, all the intricacies that he thought about and that he stressed. Like, he was like, look, last year setting up for we lose 2 practices. Mm-hmm. Because on practice 14, you're setting up and practicing for what the spring game is going to look like on practice 15, on day 15. He was like, now, if we just do an open practice – with the fans there, because I'm glad, like, to me, that's the biggest draw of a spring game is make sure the fans are involved. Cancel the spring. I don't care if it's a game, but give the fans the opportunity if they want to come and watch so they can be intertwined in the program and they get to do the autograph. I think it's a good decision. I'm for it. But like him talking about the intricacies of, well, now we get a 14th practice and we get to do a 15th day of development as well. Here's Brian Kelly talking about it.
An opportunity for our fans, to see our team, but it'll be in a different format. It will be for us a culmination of the work that we're going to be doing. It'll be a scrimmage, but it'll be controlled, situational. You'll get a chance to see all of your favorite players, and be able to be part of what would be a culmination of the 15 practices. But there'll be live scrimmaging, but it'll be in a different format. It won't be a continuous game. It'll be broken up into situational, red zone, some kicking game. There'll be a lot more special teams involved in it. And again, as I mentioned, the opportunity for our fans to engage with our players. Will wrap up the event with an autograph session on the field in Tiger Stadium. And just much more of an engaging event for our fans with our players. So taking a different kind of spin on it and making it just a different event than it has been in the past, and giving our players, every one of them, an opportunity to be involved in kind of like what we just did here, where everybody got reps today. Regardless of whether they're a freshman or a transfer or somebody in our program, we want to make sure that happens as well. So,
yeah, no, I mean, I'm all for this concept of a spring game. Like, it's allowing for LSU to do what they need to do, but the fans still get to be involved. Because that's, like I said, that's the biggest thing that I didn't want to lose from not having a spring game, is removing the aspect where the fans get to be a part of this. And I think that's what LSU, what separates them is, we talked about it, I think, last week when we were talking about the brand, was how LSU offers this perspective and this opportunity and ability for the fans to be intertwined, the path and the powerhouse to be intertwined in the program. And that's what I was going to be upset if they lost, if you don't have a spring game. But now LSU gets to take care of their business, and the fans still get to be involved. And so it's a win.
And would you not say that, like, this is probably, like, the biggest, like, I guess, faux pas with Brian Kelly that people, or, like, the one thing that people complain about is because when he's prepared, you can tell that he's, like, when he's invested, you can tell that he's a good coach. And then when he's not, you can tell too. Like,
right.
Buy all the way in, because that's always been our biggest sticking point was, brother, you can't have the fans care more than you.
Right.
And that's what it felt like for a long time. But now he's starting to feel a little bit of like, okay, I have the NIL backing. I have the team. Like, I got the players here.
Right.
You have the coaching staff, regardless if you, like, lost Bo Davis or not. But that was a testament to your coaching staff that the NFL wanted him. And then you bring in a guy like Kyle Williams, who you see consistently on the practice. You're going to love him. Like, you see consistently on the practice field, that is Emmett.
Yes.
And I know he's from the high school ranks, but – brother, he played at a high level and was probably the reason he was good is because he tried hard.
Yeah.
Like, he had to be
and he had to learn
to be technically proficient, because he wasn't relying, like, as talented as he may be, he wasn't relying on that. He had to find ways and advantages to be able to win on the football field and do it for 12 years. And then you get the, like, go in the deep water with me. You're like, oh, fuck.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely I will.
Yeah, I'll follow you right into the deep.
And so you get, like, a certified replacement, which feels like, I know it was a talking point. It's like, well, what is he, you're really going to hire a high school coach that retired?
Right.
Like, well, then you see all of the things and put the pieces together, like, yeah, he can fucking do this.
Yeah.
And so you see the pieces kind of coming together, whether it be, like, even on the recruiting end. Like, you can be mad about Bryce Underwood, but you also, and part of that article with, like, that Ross Dellinger wrote was, like, being able to keep Harlem Berry, being able to get DJ Pickett was –
those were huge wins.
That was a part of that, like being able to have that in your back pocket. Like, we can compete.
Yeah.
And it's not just, hey, come to LSU, man. I know you like it.
Right. We're cool, because LSU is cool, but cool doesn't really cut it anymore. But
you know what is cool?
What?
To be cool and paid.
Yes, to be rich. But yeah, I mean, like Lloyd said, you can tell when Brian Kelly's like when he was talking about the spring game, he broke it down piece by piece of, this is why we're doing it. This is what we're going to do. These are the reasons. Like, last year we missed out on the 14th practice and the 15th. That's not what we want for this year. We want development every single day. And it was just like, I was listening to that and I was like, yeah, like you get sold, because I can tell that this is something that he had his hands on, and he was in like, he's not forgetting things. None of it sounded fake or routine or practiced.
Well, we have we're almost too close to it in a sense, but also you can tell whatever he's kind of getting to the next question. Now it feels like he's very much prepared for what the questions are, and he has the information. He's not up there trying to filibuster and lie. Get through it. This is very much he knows who's on the roster, he knows who's on the staff, he knows what they're trying to do, and it's a different version of Brian Kelly that feels all in and bought in because he did put his own money up.
Yeah, he put his money where his mouth is.
Yes.
No, I mean it. I actually listened to that press conference on my way here this morning, and one of the things where I was just like, this sounds different, and that's it does bring a little bit of excitement for me just because I know how much talent is on this team. I mean, when you talk about one of the best quarterbacks in the country returning, you've revamped this coaching staff. You've got one of the best wide receiver rooms in the country. Offensive line, there's so much talent there. They just have to put the pieces in the right spots. Defensively, this is the deepest defense Brian Kelly's had since he's been at LSU. So there are a lot of reasons to be excited if you're an LSU fan, but still, I mean, it hadn't started till it started, and it's not a win unless you get it done on August 30th. And I tell you what, bringing back involved in spring football, August 30th cannot get here fast enough. The excitement, the fan side of me this weekend when I was watching the mic'd ups and the clips and all the things involved in spring football, I was just like, oh, I need it now. So spring football continues for the media availability tomorrow. So hopefully we will have Christian out there. We will send the young man.
Well, yeah, it just depends on the timing of it all if we can get out there because I'm excited to get out there as
I would love to. Yeah, and I would have been able to on Saturday if it wasn't for being in Lake Charles. But Christian did get some video. He finally sent that to me today. So some of the stuff from Saturday I'll get out on social media today also. But, yeah, I mean, it's an exciting time for LSU football. Like we said, they've got the money support. The players are bought in. The coaches are bought in. It just seems to be moving in the right direction. I'm excited to see what spring football has in store. But also, I mean, just throughout the rest of the offseason. I don't expect another portal addition in the spring window. You feel like this team is kind of ready. This is kind of the squad you're going to run with. You don't really need to go out and add any pieces unless something happens in spring football that you find out you're just not ready for. But I think they're very much this is the squad. This is who LSU will go in to Clemson with on August 30th, and it's exciting. And right now, I mean, they still don't have some of their loudest leaders on the field. Obviously, Whit Weeks is there, Jordan Gilbert is there, Jacoby and Guillory is there, but they're not in the pads getting the work in with these guys. And once that happens, I think the balled-in aspect will be brought to a whole nother level. I think they tackled for the first time on Saturday, if I remember correctly. That was a practice where they tackled. They got that work in. Obviously you need that. Chili says he expects one or two players added in the spring portal. Really? I would say what position? What group do you think they would go add? Sabrion says don't think we need to go look at tackle. I mean defensive tackle or offensive tackle. I think offensive tackle you've got so many pieces.
Well, and who would be a tackle that's hitting the portal? I would imagine that the price would be very you saw it happen with Lance Hurd for LSU where it was I'm not going to play, so I'm leaving, and that's a 5-star that's an unproven guy, but you saw him go to Tennessee because the money was right and I don't have playing time at LSU.
Right.
That just feels like a very small percentage of what's going on the offensive line. Where you get a guy that skilled or that highly rated that is also with an offensive line with 2 5-stars in front of him.
Right.
That's just a victim of your own success type deal. So I don't know who you would be able – but that's not – that's Austin Thomas's job.
Right.
So I don't know the offensive line of people that you'd be able to add. You're obviously getting old boy from Northwestern to come down. I think it's now. I think he's done.
Done? Okay.
He's done with school.
The quarters period is over.
It is over, so come on down. And then I feel somewhat confident in the offensive line. It's going to be whether you're deficient or not up front and you're not allowed to rely on. I think it's a good thing kind of to get off the reliance of a Will Campbell and Emory Jones, where you actually have to coach it a little bit.
Yep.
And you added coaches to coach it.
Yep.
You put in the amount of, I guess, buy-in you need to have, where you added offensive coordinator, formerly offensive coordinator, run game coordinator. Now that was a Bortles Awards finalist. That was kicked to the curb. You're you want to come to LSU and be an assistant? Yeah.
I'll do that.
And you're getting a high-level coach to where some of these things that you're working on, whether it's being deficient in the run game, now it feels like you can't rely on Will Campbell and Emory Jones. Why doesn't it work? Now it's, all right, let's work together as 5, as opposed to let's rely on these 2. And you have to kind of coach it around Garrett Nussmeier, because it feels like he is who he is. You know what you're getting.
Yes.
Which is not a bad thing.
No, not at all.
Probably the best returning quarterback in the country.
And you're able to structure this around him after a year of seeing how he operates.
Him, yeah.
Right.
And you add Berrien Brown, Nick Anderson. Aaron Anderson comes back.
In the chat, Matthew Coggle says safety. Sabrion says offensive tackle. Messina says take another defensive lineman or offensive lineman, or any secondary depth is critical. I agree, but I think this team is deep. They have a lot of pieces. And in my mind, if I think back to the spring portal last year, the spring window is a little more expensive than the winter window.
Oh. You think you hired the right mercenaries now.
Right. The spring window, the price goes up because the demand is up. I'm hitting the portal, you're offering me now because you need, this is your last role, you need me. And so it's going to be a little more expensive. So I wouldn't be surprised if they add another piece, but I would say it would be one. They would go get one player, because I think you added 16. I don't think they really need to add much more after what the work that they did in the original portal window. A big hitting safety is a tone setter. You have a big hitting safety.
Gilbert.
That's Jordan Gilbert. Say what you want about coverage and all these things.
Head down.
He will put his head down and go hit somebody. Matthew Congle says, what's the deal with Trey Holly? He will have his hearing. I think it's in July.
Are people concerned about the running back room?
I think it shouldn't be. I mean, you can kind of be concerned about the development of Caleb Jackson, but I think you know what you have in Caden Durham, and he is special. I think it's going to be so difficult to keep Harlan Berry off the field. And then you've got Caleb Jackson, you've got JT Lindsey coming in. Who was our guy Christian brought up the other day? So this senior walk-on stood out to Christian. I love it. Yeah. No, I'm not throwing shade either.
Absolutely.
But I just loved that was Christian's take.
He's big. Didn't know who he was.
Looks kind of jacked.
Yeah. But those are the takes you get.
Yep. But, So, I mean, I'm not really worried at running back. Terrell 5 says Gilbert isn't the answer. I'm not saying Gilbert you're starting.
Let's just give him a shot.
And I'm not saying he's going to be your every down safety. But, I mean, you've got guys in that. Tamarcus Cooley. You've got a Gilbert, Deshaun Spears, Joel Rogers.
You'll see a new name.
Yeah,
because you've been so reliant on whether it be Gilbert all of last year, Sage Ryan, Major Burns. They're all out the building. Gilbert comes back, and so he's been cast into this same group of don't like him. Right. And it's give him a chance to be healthy. He came back to play for LSU and is a part of the culture here. And I don't think he got a fair shake, because you really didn't know what you were doing on the back end of your defense last year, whether it's the star position with you're moving around Major Burns to, you talked about it, Greg Brooks.
Right.
That was your mainstay.
Yes.
And then you lose that to a fucking terrible circumstance. And then you have to kind of fill in pieces around it. Then you hear, Sage Ryan now he's cross-training at both corner and safety. You're here we go again. And to have, I don't know what people would feel like if he came back, but I do feel like he's obviously made himself an enemy of the state by going to Ole Miss. I think they would have been okay with him coming back to LSU, just from a fan base perspective. But now that he's gone, it's very easy to shit on him. And you have Major Burns, who, much maligned, but also came in from Georgia and as a Baton Rouge kid.
Right.
And, he did a role. You had bad coaching at that point.
Yes.
And now you have, it's not sustainable, or, it's not the same nucleus of guys that you had last year, you finally have some continuity on the coaching side.
Yes. Yes, Matthew Conga says, I trust a healthy Gilbert, keyword healthy. Yeah, he wasn't healthy last year. You see, he's missing spring right now because of a shoulder surgery. He'll be back for the summer, I think the summer workouts and for fall camp. But you're getting the other guys are going to get. I think Deshaun Spears and his development is going to be massive because you saw some of the flashes over the season. But you would love to see him continue to develop and become a real player at that position. TaMarcus Cooley's a guy you went out and got to play safety for your team. Mansour Delane is a guy that they've brought up the cross train. Is he going to be safety? Is he going to be corner? Right now he's a corner, and I to me he's a corner. Now, if you feel like you're deep at corner, you're going to put him at safety. You can. My vote is to play him at corner.
But then if you have that conversation, who's left out?
At safety?
No,
I mean at corner?
Like you have it would be his third year starting for LSU at corner, and then you have the all-world freshman
right.
who'd like to see.
I think Stamps is probably the guy that gets.
And then you brought in a transfer from Florida.
Yep. No, I mean you have guys, you have the bodies. It's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
And that's why if you do feel confident in Stamps and Pickett and Jackson or a mix of however, Mansour Delane can go back there and play safety. But
That's
you also have
think,
TaMarcus Cooley. You have the pieces.
Yeah, they got finally because you're not like looking for who can do it. You're like we got a multitude of options of like now it's the Jay Johnson problem.
Right.
You have to find the best fit for them because they can play.
This is your outfield.
Yes. This is your right field.
Yep. This is figured out. And I trust Blake Baker and this defensive staff to figure it out. To put the pieces in the right spot to be successful.
And that's where, Cordell, we're not going to skip your comment, brother. Good to see you. Gilbert's great against playing the run. It's his coverage where he was hurt all season. Yeah, but the fact that he was able to be a factor in the run game hurt. I'd like to see him healthy and do it. And that's where you have like the packages where you can sub people in and out, and you're not so afraid of like dictating your defense based on like, oh, he's out, so they're doing this. Where you have TaMarcus Cooley who can kind of play anywhere. You have Delane who can kind of play anywhere.
Right.
And then you have Stamps who's been doing it. Toviano who's been out there.
Right.
And like
Pickett
played a multitude of positions.
Can play anywhere.
Yeah, he played a ton of safety in high school.
Be on the field.
Yeah, he has to play.
Like Pickett is going to be on the football field.
And you have Whit Weeks, and you have
Harold Perkins,
and you
got Devon Keys, you've got Patrick. I mean, this is a deep defense, in my opinion.
John Emery on offense.
Can't get rid of him.